Howdy, howdy, everybody. Chris here. We're back in the garage today, and today we're finishing up this repair on this Mercedes-Benz. Last week, we went ahead and repaired this front bumper cover. We had some plastic damage, and I shared with you how to heat that up, manipulate that plastic back into shape, and then we used some flexible filler to fill those low areas. We block sanded it out and applied 2 coats of 2K urethane primer, and then Darius went ahead and blocked out that primer, and we got it all ready for paint. Today we're going to finish up this repair. I'm going to walk you through the entire painting process step by step and give you all the information you need to repair or restore your project. So let's dig in and get started. So Darius has went ahead and got this all prepped out. We sanded the primer with 320. We block sanded the primer with 320 grit sandpaper, and then he went over it with 600 grit on the orbital sander with the interface pad. So he used a soft foam interface pad like this one, and then he can move over the contours without damaging the filler or burning through the edges. And then for the rest of this bumper, we're just blending the color here, and we're just clearing the outside portion of this bumper cover. So he went around. He used 600 with the DA on the large areas, but all the hard to reach areas and the body lines, he used this scuff pad. This is a gray scuff pad. It's about a 1500 grit scratch. And basically you just want to knock the shine off so that clear coat adheres properly. You do not have to strip all the paint off your bumper. You know, if you have damaged areas, you want to repair those areas, but do not try and strip the paint off your entire bumper cover. It's not necessary as long as your paint's in good condition. Next step is we're going to wash this. We're going to mount it up on our stand here. Get ready to apply the sealer, the base, and then the clear coat. And I'll walk you through that entire process. Okay, we got it set up on the stand. We're going to use some isopropyl alcohol to wash it down. You can also use prep solvent like wax and grease remover. Okay, Darius is mixing up the paint over there. He just mixed up some sealer. We're going to use the Porpoise PRD 627 just for sealer. We're going to set this up just like we would base coat. 2.5 turns out on the fluid volume. Fan is wide open. And then our air pressure, we'll probably set this at about 13, 14 PSI. Just going to seal the primer surface. I'm not going to pull the trigger all the way at first. All right, that's it. Okay, so now we're going to apply the base to this. Air pressure is set at about 19 PSI actually. We're just going to cover the primer, and then we'll let it flash off, and then we'll blend it out on the second coat, and that should be all we need. It's important to remember when you're applying your sealer and your base coat, you want to get those substrates as smooth as possible before you apply your clear coat. The smoother those substrates are, the smoother your clear coat's going to be. Okay, we got one coat on here. There it is. I'm going to put the second coat on now. Air pressure is at 19 PSI. Fan pattern is wide open, and the fluid volume's at 2.5. This is the Inokraft Drizzle D1 low volume, low pressure paint gun. I will leave a link in the description. Check it out if you're interested in a good paint gun that's going to produce less overspray, consume less air, and save you in materials. To achieve a smooth finish in your sealer and your base coat, you need the right atomization of your paint gun. That's going to be your gun settings. And then you also need the right speed and distance from the panel when you're spraying. The gun settings I give you are just a guide. Don't be afraid to change those if you're not getting the finish that you're looking for. Just like that. That's probably pretty good, but I'm going to put one more on just to be safe. Since it's pretty much covered. And there we go. We blended it out. Now we're ready for some clear coat. So let's mix it up. All right, we're going to mix up some clear coat. So the clear coat we're using is this Finish One FC710. It's a spot panel clear, so what that means is it's designed for just a few panels. It's not designed to do an overall paint job. It's going to cure probably a little bit quicker than an overall. And I find with the FC720, which is a overall clear, it takes a good while to cure up properly, and I like to buff things the next day, so that's why I prefer the FC710. We are going to use the slow hardener here. So 4 parts clear, 1 part activator. If you see right here, this is the 4 to 1 to 1 mixing ratio. We went to the number 4, that's the amount of clear that we want, and then we'll go up to this 4 with activator. And that'll give us the 4 to 1 mixing ratio. Now we are going to adjust our gun a little bit for clear coat. We'll bump up the air pressure probably 5 psi, so probably around 24, because we're running at 19 right now, so probably about 24. And then we'll leave our fluid volume about the same, 2.5 to 3 turns out from closed. You know, and those are just guidelines for you guys. Obviously, that all depends on the temperature you're spraying in. There's a lot of other factors, what clear you're using, if you're not using the same clear as I am. So there's a lot of different variables. Some clear spray differently, so you're going to need to adjust your gun just a little bit differently, but that's just a good guideline. Okay, let's talk about gun settings for clear coat. Now, the goal with clear coat is you want thin, wet coats. We're going to put 2 coats on. We're going to wait 10 to 15 minutes in between coats, depending on the air temperature. Now, as far as the gun settings, we're going to have our fan pattern wide open. I like to control my fluid volume, so I'll start like 2 to 2.5 turns out from closed. So I close it all the way, turn it 2 to 2.5 turns out. Usually 2 is not enough, so I usually at least have to go to 2.5. I guess my point is, don't start with that fluid volume wide open. Start it on the lower range and then increase it gradually as you need it. That's going to help you kind of dial that gun in so you get the perfect atomization of your clear. Now, as far as the air pressure, we want that clear coat to be atomized into fine droplets. So with this particular gun and this clear coat, I set my air pressure at about 24 psi. From 20 to 24, it ranges in between there, depending on the conditions I'm spraying in. Remember, these gun settings are guidelines for the conditions I'm spraying in right now with the gun, with the clear I'm spraying. Your conditions are going to be different, so adjust your gun accordingly and don't be afraid to change those settings. So after the first coat, it looks pretty good. It does not have to be absolutely perfect after the first coat. Remember, we're applying 2 coats, and you can clean it up on the second coat. So if you have a few little dry areas, hit it on the second coat. But yeah, that gun spray is really nice. We're probably about ready for another coat. Yep. It's sticky, so it's not stringy. That's just sticky. It's not stringy, it's ready for a second coat. Let's go ahead and lay it on there. So typically on the second coat, I'm gonna hit it a little bit harder. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna slow down just a little bit, put it on a little bit heavier. That's gonna help it to flow out, get that nice flat finish that everybody's looking for and that high gloss. I'll work my way from one end of the bumper cover to the other, making sure I don't leave any dry areas. Always keeping that edge of clear wet and working my way to the other end of the bumper cover. You want to make sure you're overlapping about 70 to 80%, keeping your speed and your distance consistent.
So we got a little hair we want to pick out. All right, I got it.
Overall, this bumper came out beautifully. I'm very happy with how it turned out. It's not absolutely perfect, but they never are. You're always going to have some minor imperfections and dust. We're going to take care of those by wet sanding and buffing those out, and I've got plenty of videos on that topic. I want to thank you for all the support you've given me over the years of running this channel and all the great comments. And if you're new to the channel, I appreciate you stopping in, and please consider subscribing. We got a lot of great information on how to repair your vehicle. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you watching. Make sure your notifications are turned on so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And if you want to learn more about paint and body repair, check out this video now. We'll see you next time on Garage Noise.